Can you guys hear me? All right, here we go.
Destroyed. All right, let's do this.
Sounds about right.
And we're live. How's it going, everybody? Can everybody hear me? We're good?
We are good.
We're good. So, my name's Pat. This is Ray. We got Benny and Jake. And welcome to JetCast. So, we have a lot to go over. Ray took a nice vacation in Florida last week and picked probably the worst week ever to go on a vacation. So, how was your vacation? Did your wife enjoy you on your phone constantly?
Yeah, on the phone. I mean, I was down there. We went to spring training. That was really cool to see. Saw some of the background stuff because of, the whole stuff with Metcast going on. But it's so funny. The whole time I kept thinking to myself, am I dreaming about this Aaron Rodgers stuff going down? We saw Derek Carr get away, which it almost felt like since the beginning, the Saints was kind of his preferred destination. We go back a little bit. He was the first guy to get, he got permission to talk to them. That was the first team, which, appears to be his preferred destination. For me, I don't understand it. I believe the Saints are going to have to rework a lot of contracts, as we've seen, and they might have to let go a couple of good players. And who the hell knows what's going on with Alvin, Kamara, for crying out loud. So that was a little bit of an interesting choice to me. But, we're New Yorkers. We move on really quick. I'm sure as, you guys all seen the news as I have with the whole Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. It seems like a deal is kind of already done. Compensation's being worked on, but it appears that he has told, the Packers that he wants out of there. It's time to go.
Right. So in case anybody's been living under a rock, let's just recap what's happened over the last week. So I believe it was Tuesday morning, Trey Wingo sent out a tweet that the previous day, that he said that the previous day, Monday, which was the 6th, that the Packers and the Jets were, the Packers had allowed the Jets to talk to Aaron Rodgers. And that was the news cycle for most of the afternoon, that we were able to talk to Aaron. And then we find out sometime in the afternoon on Tuesday that they had flown out and they were actually in the air when that news broke that they had talked the previous day. They hung out with Aaron and I believe his agent Tuesday night in LA and flew back Tuesday, landing early Wednesday morning back on the East Coast. We didn't really hear much, and then again today, we didn't hear much, I believe, for about 2 days, and then it was today where things kind of picked up again, where it seems like it's imminent. It could happen at any moment. So, Benny, why don't you go first? What are your thoughts right now on what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an exciting time. We all know what Aaron Rodgers would mean to the Jets organization. From everything that we hear from the Packers side, it's clear that they're ready to move on. They're ready to see what Jordan Love has. and it's clear as day that the Jets are all in on Aaron Rodgers. And thinking of this situation, trying to be unbiased, truly, I look at the Jets as a perfect destination for Aaron Rodgers, where he's able to compete at a high level with a young team ready to win for 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then he rides off into the sunset and then walks into the Hall of Fame. I think there's a perfect opportunity, similarly to what Tom Brady did going to Tampa, getting a lot of veteran guys. That team was ready to win, and they were able to pull out a Super Bowl. So I'm not guaranteeing the Jets winning the Super Bowl, but they will be able to compete at the highest level with the Cincinnati Bengals of the world, the Bills, the Chiefs, and I think the Jets will be right there in that conversation. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet sooner rather than later. It's just a matter of when.
Jake, your turn. How was your week?
Yeah, it was good. You know, a lot of news obviously to follow and everything. You know, I think that Rodgers is ultimately going to end up in New York, and you know he will be a Jet. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, right now it seems like they're really the only good option. I think, you know, as far as you look at a GM in Joe Douglas that has put together a foundation where, you know, he has draft picks to this point where it's like he's done so well, you can arguably trade those away now to go out and get a Rodgers, and it probably isn't going to cost as much as a lot of people are thinking from what I've heard. So I think it opens up the door, because I think when you go out and you get Aaron Rodgers, the window is you're basically establishing a window here that is relatively, you know, small, right? Because Rodgers won't be playing forever. So it does give you the option and almost kind of pushes you in the direction. I've seen it myself with the Rams going all in. It pushes you in the direction to go after some talent that maybe in the past you might have been like, I don't know about this one. But, you know, I look over at like Jalen Ramsey, right? You know, the Rams are definitely interested in trading him. I think they're going to trade him 100%. And Ramsey's been hanging out a lot with Sauce Gardner. He was at the Knicks game, sitting in those Jets, like, you know, sectioned off seats, courtside. I'm just saying, guys, if you put 2 and 2 together, you know, the thing with, you know, Odell Beckham Jr., you know, how he was FaceTiming Odell. Sauce is on the prowl right now. He's trying to get everyone to come over here. I think he has a good idea. Like, look, we have Rodgers, and that is a really easy pitch to a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who already wanted to play with Rodgers to begin with, and he would get that opportunity potentially, assuming, you know, nothing completely falls out and, you know, everything goes according to plan. Rodgers will be a Jet, and I think there's a chance that, you know, at the very least they get Odell, but they could also get Ramsey as well. I understand fitting that into the cap becomes an issue, but when you're in this position, like, you can, you know, mess around and do a little bit with the cap. The cap is a myth to an extent. You can move money around, you can push it back, and you see the, you know, the effects of that. They don't always work out in the end, but, you know, to win a Super Bowl, you know, we've seen what teams can do. And, you know, I think both those players would be great fits for the Jets. And I think they're both extremely realistic. And I think this is where, not to get anyone's like hopes up, but when you're talking about getting Aaron Rodgers, this is where now all of a sudden you start to pivot to, how do we get over the top, right? You have the Chiefs. How do we beat the Chiefs? How do we beat the Bengals? How do we beat these teams when we have to play them in the postseason? How do we claim the AFC East division title, and how do we win the AFC so we have it, you know, the road to the playoffs goes through MetLife Stadium? I think that is a road to the Super Bowl, rather. I think that is really the key focal point here, and I think that's something Joe Douglas now has the luxury of thinking this way, because he's done such a good job of building the foundation to begin with.
Right. Did you guys see Mark Murphy, the Packers president and CEO? He had a...
Yep, I have it pulled up.
Right. He said, quote, he was given an interview, I guess a short interview. Someone grabbed him, and he said, quote...
Adriana Torres, I believe.
Right. It's a situation where I think we wanted to help Aaron achieve what he wanted, as well as the Packers. Hopefully, it'll create a situation where it's a win for both sides. It sounds like he's talking about a player.
It's as good as gone.
That it's as good as gone. Now,
there was another quote though. If you go on, I'm trying to find it. He said earlier on, I believe it was something to the fact of, if we don't get if we don't get what we want, we're prepared to have Aaron be our starting quarterback. And like, if you actually watch the interview, the guy looks just defeated. He goes on to talk about how a similar situation happened with Favre. It's almost saying like it's unfortunate that quarterbacks don't stay with one team throughout their entire career because it's hard to be relevant.
No quarterback does.
Right. Well, you have guys like Peyton Manning moving, for crying out loud. Tom Brady. It's just because it's so hard in a salary cap league to stay relevant. As long as you need to be to hold on to these guys. But I want to touch on something that Jake was just talking about, and I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on it. If you can get Rodgers and hopefully get the Packers to take as much money off the books as possible, because Joe Douglas is going to have to be a magician when it comes to moving this cap around. We've seen the Saints do it. Because I'm looking out there, Jake, I was talking about it a little bit earlier. Maybe a guy like Adam Thielen, you potentially are able to get these veterans in here that are ring shopping. We seen it years ago with Rex Ryan. We had Jason Taylor came over. We all hated him as Jet fans. LaDainian Tomlinson came over. You bring in these veteran guys on lower tier contracts. Now, I seen Jet fans jumping all over the place when it came to Odell Beckham. He's got 2 torn ACLs within the last 20 months. If you're going to get him in here on next to nothing contract, I'm doing it all day long. I understand the whole locker room killer, but we're in a league where winning cures all. I mean, it didn't seem to bother the Rams that much when they were dancing on the field. I know,
the locker room killer. I think that's a false narrative. I think that has kind of been spewed around him, because think about it, the old Giants teammates, they are begging for him to come back. They are trying every which way to recruit him. So I think for, to any Jets fans out there that are like, I worry about him, destroying a locker room or whatever. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. I think Elijah Moore is more of a danger to the locker room than Odell Beckham.
Benny, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I was having that same argument with people. I think I understand the whole, like, he tore his ACL twice. It's confirmed that the initial surgery wasn't successful, where he wasn't able to be 100%. So the knee was more susceptible to injury yet again, and that's what happened. But I believe now that he had the successful surgery, a long rehab where he wasn't rushing back. Now he's going to have a full offseason to get up to par, up to football speed. Unlike if he joined the Cowboys in week 13 last year, it would have been a little bit rushed. Now he's going to have a whole offseason. I think he's going to be a really good player. And I said the same thing. Were the Rams complaining when he was scoring touchdowns? He was well on his way to winning Super Bowl MVP until he tore that ACL. He proved to be a really good player in this league. And we're not asking him, if he is to be a Jet, we're not asking him to put up 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's going to be that wide receiver 2 option as he was with the Rams. And obviously the number 1 option would be Garrett Wilson, a la Cooper Kupp in that role. So I think he would be a perfect fit. But I know a lot of Jets fans, this is a false narrative. Oh, he's a diva. A lot of that stuff that happened that created that narrative was in 2016. Tell me people don't change in the last 7 years. That's a little bit lazy to me.
And for crying out loud, I mean, we hear Aaron Rodgers is a diva, and we're all screaming for him. I mean, with quarterbacks and wide receivers in the NFL, that's what it is. Even Sauce Gardner is a diva, but he's great at what he does, so we don't care. The whole Sauce thing, he meets Woody Johnson, he breaks out the little Sauce tab from his necklace. He's wearing the Sauce chain, the everything, the A1. He's doing all the commercials and such. That's literally the definition of a diva, but we love it because he's a great player. And 80% of Odell Beckham, if you get 80% on him and he's your 4th option, he's better than any other 4th option in the league.
The point, he's an older player who's made his money, who's got his ring. So the idea of him being a cancer in the locker room is I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe if this was a younger Odell, before he got his second contract, maybe it would have been. I mean, yeah, he was having fist fights with the kicking net in when he was with the Giants. I remember all that.
How about someone we just watched change, Pat? We just seen Geno Smith get his jaw broken a few years back by a teammate on the Jets. Now the guy's getting $100 million contract.
Yeah.
So, people do grow up.
Well, not just grow up, but I mean, Geno's a perfect example of skills developing, right? I mean, how long did Geno sit on the bench before he got a chance to start again? And all of a sudden, he's putting up the numbers that he is, right? So, as any of us mature, players included, I mean, we're talking about guys that coming into the league, 21, 22, 23. I don't know about you guys, but when I was that age, like, you put a few, you give me a few $1 million and I'm going to act like a maniac. So, it is what it is. I don't think Odell will be a problem in the locker room. But
what do you put on the odds of Elijah Moore being on this team next year? Say everything goes through. We give up, let's just say, a second-round pick this year, a conditional 3 next year that could turn into a 2 if we make the playoffs and a 1 if we win the Super Bowl or something crazy like that. Do you see Elijah Moore, who we were, 6-3 when he's asking out? I mean, he's cursing Mike LaFleur out as he walks out of the building. It's so strange because when we drafted the guy, it's all about character. We all saw the One Jets Drive episode where he's like, I just want to win. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes to win. And turns out that doesn't appear to be the case. If I'm the Jets, I understand the talent he has. I would strongly consider moving off of him this offseason.
If he's not part of the package to get Aaron Rodgers, he's on the team, and he's probably receiving punts. That's my take.
You don't think he could be a slot guy?
Maybe a slot guy, but he'll be receiving punts also.
He'll probably be like wide receiver 4, honestly, because I mean, Rodgers is going to want guys that he can trust, and I mean, everybody saw that. That's the thing is like the Mike LaFleur news that was all over the NFL. That was like front page news for ESPN. You know what I mean? Like that was a big deal. And players talk, they see things like that. It's like, man, if Rodgers is coming into this environment and he's almost done with his career, let's be honest here, like, he's got 2, 3, maybe 4 more tops left, but he's not going to want to deal with that. He's not going to do with that attitude. No way. I mean, he just played with rookies. He just played, Alan Lazard and watched his development and watched how he grew, and Lazard credited Rodgers. He said, basically he was immature and, he had to really grow and had to really learn how to play with Rodgers. And then, you talk about just the different, going out and getting Romeo Dobbs, going out and getting Christian Watson. He played with all of these young guys. And I think he would definitely be excited to throw to, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Garrett Wilson. But I think he's also going to want to get some veterans in there. I mean, keep in mind, like, Randall Cobb, like, that was his go-to guy. They brought him back. He came back to the Packers. He's going to want, like, a veteran. So I feel like Odell makes sense. I feel like Thielen makes so much sense. Honestly, if the Jets can wind up, with a wide receiver core of Garrett Wilson, Odell, Thielen, and then Elijah Moore's your 4th guy, and then you find somebody to take Corey Davis's contract, I mean, I think you're cooking with gas there. I wouldn't mind
Thielen
Elijah Moore with the 4 guy. Yeah, he's cut.
Yep. I didn't see that. Okay.
So he would fit like a glove. I mean, he'd be really good for Rodgers, I think, because he's so savvy, and he's one of the best route runners still in the league. Like, he doesn't get talked about enough because, really, I think the thing with him is that he got sick of how the Vikings were so oriented on throwing to Justin Jefferson. And I think Thielen knows he can still be 1,000-yard receiver. And he wants to get those targets. And I think with Rodgers' ball distribution and how he can really spread it all over the field, I don't think you're going to have any issue with the targets thing. I really don't.
Well, he averaged just over 10 yards a reception last year, had over 70 receptions. I mean, he's still a very viable receiver out there. And
absolutely,
that's one good thing is you already have a solidified number one go-to receiver here, but he's not out there demanding the ball. We saw the fits that he had with Zach Wilson, but I think that was more of just how much tape can you watch in 1 week and see you're open, your wide receiver two's open, Zach doesn't see the blitz coming from here, he sets the wrong protections there, and I think it was a combination of all that really. Then one guy we keep forgetting about is Brees Hall. He's with these guys recruiting him, coming off the torn ACL. But if
Everybody forgets about Brees Hall.
If he comes back to form next year, I believe the Jets, they did not pick up the option on Robinson, so he's gone. So that pick's not going to be elevated that they sent over to Jacksonville. So you still have a solid core. Maybe Benny, you want to speak to that a little bit because I know you're a big Brees guy. With Brees and Carter and maybe Bam Knight, maybe you bring in another late round pick or something like that.
Maybe you bring in Deuce Vaughn. Did you see he retweeted my Deuce Vaughn post?
Yeah, did everybody see
that? It's like, hey, you put Deuce Vaughn in the same backfield as Brees Hall. I don't know how you're stopping that. But
what do you think about that, Benny?
Yeah, I think we all know that Brees, according to Joe Douglas, he says that he's going to be ready for Week 1. But even if he's playing, he's not going to get the crazy workload that we're used to expecting. That's going to be something that we're going to ease in. But I kind of wanted to answer your question from before with the whole Elijah Moore possibility of being on his team.
I know he's your boy, yo. You met him. You drove all the way to freaking Jersey to meet this guy, bro. Yep. And you live out by me, so props to you.
Yeah, I love Elijah Moore. I think we all know he is extremely, extremely talented. And maybe I'm overthinking it just a little bit. But I think it's very much a 50-50 shot he's on this roster next year. I find it just a little bit strange when you look at this roster and in the past 2 or 3 days, look at the guys that have been recruiting Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, Brees Hall, all the guys on the defensive side of the ball. You would think a guy like Elijah Moore, who wants to get the damn ball and with an opportunity to get Rodgers, would be a little bit more vocal. Everyone on this roster has tweeted it out besides Elijah Moore. And when you're expected to be a contributor in this team moving forward, not reaching out while everyone else is doing it seems a little odd to me. Like, I think he probably knows he's fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. And he may not be getting the looks, even if we get Rodgers. So I don't know. I think that's a little strange to me. I've been looking on social media. It's like, I think even Bam Knight tweeted at it. It's like Bam Knight's not going to have a huge role.
He might be practice squad next year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point, by the way.
So we got
talk to that about.
Hold on, okay. we got a question in the chat. Matthew Frank wants to know what's going to happen with Fant.
He's going to be a Ram. Nah. I mean, they have no money, so they're gonna have to go for
Yeah.
I think the Jets got to bring him back, though. I mean, you would think. I don't think he's gonna be that expensive. I think he's a good player. He finally had some injury woes last year, but for the most part, he's been relatively healthy. He's been consistent. I think he's only gotten better since he's left Seattle.
Yeah.
Because I used to literally enjoy watching Fant block against the Rams. And block in the NFC West. But when he went to the Jets, I noticed he definitely improved. I felt like he was more stout. I would argue he probably put on more. I think he put on more weight. I think he, got stronger. But yeah, I mean, he's not super old. And, if at this point you go through the season you went through with the offensive line, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have offensive linemen that you can trust,
right.
Whether he's starting or not,
I think that I'm always of the opinion that you can never have too many offensive linemen, right? So
no, I don't think
you see, right? So Dwayne Brown, we know he's coming back. Mekhi Becton, we don't know what he's going to be, but the pictures that he keeps posting, he looks like he's down a significant amount of weight. So if Fant wants to play and they can get him on a good cheap kind of deal, and why not?
Right.
I'd rather him in there than
Remember McGovern last year? Jeez.
yeah. But we've got Max Mitchell too coming back, right?
Well,
So Max
Pat, I
Mitchell,
think, yeah,
it wasn't a physical thing. It was a blood clot issue thing with him.
You nailed it right there, because if you actually think about it, I don't think Fant's going to be back for that reason. A lot of these guys, and we've seen it a couple of years ago, with I forgot who the right tackle was that we signed right before the season start, and he played for us all year. He ended up leaving us last year. But anyways, you see Becton's coming back. Brown's got a lot of Jet fans feel Brown's going to be retiring. I don't see guys just leaving $8 million on the table.
He said he already said he was coming back. He said he's not retiring.
He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Well,
and you know why? He's coming back because he knows we're going to try and get a high quality quarterback. And he's again one of those older players that thinks this may be my last chance to get a ring.
But we got to look, and when it comes to Fant, we got to look at what was his best position last year. And I think, Benny, you'll agree with me, because I remember we were watching a couple of games together. He was not good at right tackle. He just wasn't. He is extremely effective with the left kickback from the left side at left tackle. And we saw how well he played. But when he gets moved around, he's just not nearly as effective. So when you already think about it, they have 3 tackles on this team, let alone all 3 of them were injured last year, which kind of scares the hell out of you. That's why I could see them going more of maybe Joe Douglas. I feel Joe Douglas is extremely confident in one thing. He knows how to draft linemen. Elijah Vera Tucker. If Mackay's not injured, I think he's got an all-pro talent. We've seen it in his rookie year, the Baldinger breakdowns where he's just mauling the hell out of guys. Then you saw him draft Mitchell in the mid rounds last year. So it's like
Mitchell played for everything you threw at Max Mitchell. He played phenomenally before he ended
I think Joe Douglas is thinking maybe another 3rd or 4th round pick as a backup who we could develop and be ready. I think Joe Douglas is very confident that if he's going to spend money, like what you said, if you get him on the vets minimum or something like that, yeah, of course you bring him back. But I think Fant's, I believe, just 30 years old. He's going to look for an opportunity where he's either going to be the first swing tackle of the bench and have a potential to have a position battle in camp somewhere, because he's looking to get one last final payday, and I just don't see that happening here.
I don't think Fant is going to get that payday. You know what I mean? I think you're looking at Fant, probably he's taking a 2-year, $6 million deal. I mean, the problem is that you can find other guys out there. The draft is loaded. You can definitely find offensive tackles in the draft. I mean, and he's not exactly like 25, 26. So, yeah, I mean, I think when you get to that level, unless, you have like a Bears team that has $100 million in cap space and wants to nuke the market, God, I hope not. Then he's probably around $3 to $4 million a year. And to me, that makes sense for what you're getting out of him. It's a cheaper option, but it's not to the point where it's so cheap that, man, I'm getting a guy that has no experience playing this position, right? I think that would definitely be one that I think I would bring back. What do you think about Herbig, though?
He's going to be back for depth, I believe. What do you think about that, Benny?
I like what Herbig brought to the table. When I look at this offensive line, especially last year, I mean, more or less the past 2 years, we lack that nasty offensive lineman with that edge where someone hits the quarterback. We got offensive linemen right there chirping. Like, I don't know. There was just too many times where in the past few years I've seen my quarterback get knocked down and my offensive linemen are walking back to the huddle and my quarterback is laying on the floor. And then there was no accountability. But that was different with Nate Herbig. Nate Herbig brung that physicality, brung that nasty to the offensive line. And he may not be a starter. I think Nate Herbig will be a cheap deal, one of these guys that could come in and play very well like he did for Elijah Vera Tucker. His play kind of diminished towards the end because he was dealing with that shin injury. But all being said, I think he's really good for cheap. Probably going to be a debt piece, and I don't know. I would love to have him back. I'd bring him back over Fant personally, but either way, if we could get either one of them on the cheap, I think that's a win-win.
I will
Little-
say getting
little-
Rodgers in there, you're not going to need anybody to yell for him.
Little
He's,
breaking news, real quick.
Oh,
Jermaine Johnson is a father. While we were on the live stream, he had his baby
oh
girl.
wow.
Everyone's having
Just
girls.
tweeted it out
What's
like
going
20
on?
minutes ago.
Jermaine, congrats.
That's what's up. Benny and I both got to kind of meet him at camp last year.
Oh yeah.
like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. Benny, it's funny because when we were at camp watching him last year, I almost felt like when I watched him in college, he's this big, gigantic dude. He looked small out there, but he was agile as heck. It's those plays he made against Buffalo earlier this year, very surprising because he is just so strong down low. That's where all that power and finesse comes from. How cool is that, though? Congrats, Jermaine.
So
I
what do you
think- I think
guys?
Jermaine-
Sorry, go ahead, Benny. Go ahead, Benny.
Oh yeah, just real quick, I think Jermaine's gonna have a really good sophomore year. I think
Mm-hmm.
he showed those flashes, but obviously in limited snaps. I'm not too sure what's gonna happen to Carl Lawson, but if Carl Lawson isn't on this team, I expect Jermaine Johnson's snaps to go up pretty significantly, and I think we're gonna really start to see the first round talent in him. Like he's probably not gonna be a 10 sack guy, but I think we'll be able to see a little bit more flashes from him next year.
All right, so the new league year starts Monday at noon. That's the 13th.
This has got to happen by Sunday. If it's
Right.
gonna
This
happen.
has got to happen over the weekend. It's got to happen by that time. What do you guys think is really the holdup? Do you think it's Aaron not making a decision, or do you think it's because the compensation is still they're going back and forth on it?
I think when when Aaron Rodgers makes a decision, that is when we'll get the de facto tweet from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport saying Aaron Rodgers has chosen the Jets. They're working on compensation. Like, I think that's what we're waiting for. I don't think it's anything where, they're going back and forth. I think they're in the discussions. They have a framework. But until Aaron Rodgers has agreed on it, I don't think that we're going to hear anything.
Ray?
Yeah, I totally get where Jake's coming from there. I think that he's already made his decision,
Mm.
and I think that I think that's why this is taking a little bit longer, because it's not like the Jets and the Packers haven't spoken at all, knew this wasn't a possibility. But I think that the Packers are saying, okay, we understand he wants to go to you, but we're not just going to give him away for anything. And we know Joe Douglas, the fleece man himself, 2 first-round picks, a starting safety, a third-round pick for Jamal Adams, moving up, getting guys like Elijah Vera Tucker, getting a 6th-round pick for Blake Glass-Cashman. All these GMs are well aware that he's out there fleecing them. And I think that the Packers are trying to play a little hard to get right now, because I don't think these comments come out from their CEO, president, whatever the heck his name was, I forgot his name. I don't think those comments come out today if they're already not involved in trading him. I mean, to speak openly about trading your first-round Hall of Fame quarterback and acting as if, these things happen, we want to do what's best for Aaron. If I'm him and he's going to be a Packer or has a chance of being a Packer, my first comment is, oh, we want Aaron back. We're hoping he wants to stay here. I didn't hear anything of that, and his body language to me gave it away during that interview. I could be completely way off. I'm looking too much into it, but I think the decision's already been made. We heard, obviously Tennessee's out. The Panthers just made the blockbuster deal of the century today. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and DJ Moore, who I hope that Chicago may consider flipping to the Jets, but probably won't happen. They're moving up to number 1, so they're not going after him. Chicago's not going after him. The Raiders, they're already out. That's not happening. And the
He's
Saints
not going
aren't
to an
happening,
yeah, he's not going to an
right.
NFC
So
team.
it's kind of like de facto at this point. I think Joe Douglas has a price that he believes is fair. He's not willing to move off of it. And, the new league year, there's guaranteed money due. There's all this other shenanigans. The Packers want to get their roster ready for next year, whether they have him or not. They're building around a quarterback that they need to find out this year if he's their future, because they're going to have to pay him very shortly. And that's what sucks about drafting quarterbacks in the first round when you already have a veteran who's starting now. In today's day and age, you don't have that time to wait. Once it's year 3, you got to decide on that 5th-year option. So I think they're going to try to build around Jordan Love going into this year. So I don't know. I could be way off. Jay could be completely right, and I could just, but I think he's made his decision, and that's why
I want to address Mike in the chat saying that if he does come to the Jets, we're going to go through this all over again next year, and I would have to disagree. He has to commit to at least 2 years. You have to give it at least two more shots with him. So no, I would disagree. I don't think that we would go through the same thing with him as we did.
He's not leaving $60 million on the table. Nobody's walking away from that.
And people think that this trade compensation could be players. Like I see crazy things like Sauce or Becton.
Those are the Packer fans.
Yeah, and people don't realize that if we are taking on a large portion of the contract, that pick is going to be lower, and we're not going to have players involved in that pick. There's a fine balance there. If the Packers are going to take some of that money, then yeah, the compensation is going to be more. But if we're taking on more of that money, which we can because a lot of our guys are on rookie deals, then we're basically doing Green Bay a favor by taking that money off of their books.
Yeah, no, I agree. And part of what you just said there, I think is really key on we're going to need Aaron Rodgers to commit for 2 years. Obviously, the past few years, Aaron Rodgers has been on that seesaw. Maybe I want to play, maybe I don't. I think Aaron Rodgers has significant interest in the Jets. I think pretty much the Packers and the Jets have a framework of a deal done, and I think they're waiting for Aaron Rodgers to give that 100% okay. I think in that meeting with the Jets, they probably spoke about it, and they told Aaron, if we're going to go all in, we're probably going to need 2 really good goals at it.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers probably had to convince himself, I know I've been doing this.
I think they want 3.
Yeah, I think they would love 3.
I'll take 3.
I'll take 3 right now. But I think that's probably the last thing on his mind. He definitely understands that Joe Douglas has the capabilities of getting talent in the late rounds, and he probably understands that there's going to be veteran guys that want to be part of the New York Jets organization for a Super Bowl run. I think he just that last thing in his mind. Do I want to put my body through 2 more years after being on the fence for the past 2 years? But I don't know. Like I said earlier, I think he's going to be a Jet. He's not leaving that money on the damn table, obviously. So it's a Jet or retire, and who's really walking away from $100 million?
Hey, right now, I mean, the Jets right now are talking with C.J. Mosley, JFM, and DJ Reed's agents about restructuring.
How are they going to restructure Mosley again? My God, how many years can you add on to that contract?
But I know, but if they can sell him, look, we're getting Aaron, and this is going to be our best opportunity to get you a ring. Yeah, yes. But, Mosley, for what it's worth, he's always been a team player. I
know. I just get scared of paying linebackers well into their 30s and expecting the similar production.
Look, if it gets me a trophy, I could care less. And you know what? He's probably thinking the same thing.
And one thing that Jet fans, I don't think some Jet fans really haven't dove a lot into. We have here in the past with Paul going over cap numbers. I also think part of that meeting with Rodgers might have been with him and his agent, trying to see if they're willing to restructure his contract. That 3rd year carries a $59 million cap hit. You're not winning a Super Bowl with a quarterback making $60 million. It's just, or I'll put it this way: unless you have Patrick Mahomes right now, you're not winning a Super Bowl with your quarterback with a $60 million cap hit.
It was a
And the
terrible
following
deal.
year, it's the same. Say it again.
Terrible deal. It was literally the Packers begging Rodgers to come back, and so they gave him money they knew they were never going to pay him because they're just like,
Right.
we're just gonna basically trade this contract away. But here's what I'll say: for people that are worried about Rodgers leaving, I actually don't think he's that close to retirement at all. Because the argument I would make is I think he was fed up with the Packers, and I think when they paid him a lot of money, he's just like, all right, whatever, like, you know. But I think we saw this past year, it stopped being fun for him. And
You nailed it.
I would argue that he goes to the Jets, he's playing with all these exuberant, you know, these young exuberant players, and you know, this team that, I mean, let's be honest here, like, you know, the Jets don't have a ton of Super Bowls. They're not, you know, they don't have 6 or 7 or whatever, but you know, this is a team where, like, this is how you really, this is how you're remembered. Like, Rodgers is known as the guy that is the best regular season quarterback every year, but falls in the postseason. This is a way, and let's be honest here, the guy has an ego. I love the guy. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. He has one. This is a huge opportunity. You're going to the Jets, and if you turn them around, you win a Super Bowl with them.
You're
that's a
immortal.
lasting legacy.
You're
yeah,
immortal.
exactly. That's untouchable because you literally went from Green Bay, and pretty much all of your arguments, all of the times where, you know, you said, okay, you know, I thought we were going to get an offensive player or, you know, a contributor for our team, and we went and drafted Jordan Love. Everything you said, all the complaints you made, all of the issues you had were justified. Because if you go to the Jets and you instantly win, it shows you that the Packers were holding you back this entire time. And that's what I actually believe what was happening. Because the thing is, I think he's going to come here. I think he's going to be like, hey, Joe, is there any chance we can get Odell? Is there any chance we can get Jalen? You know, I want to win a ring. I'm not coming here just to win a lot of games, get to the playoffs, and lose in the cold like I do every year. I want to win it all. And so I think this is the organization that is not going to be afraid to make that move because they've set themselves up where they have some leeway. They can make those moves. They're putting together those arrangements with these restructures, right? So, you know, I think he's going to come here and he's not going to want to leave because and he's not going to retire anytime soon because he's going to feel like his voice matters. He knows, you know, Nathaniel Hackett. I think that's a very big key to the puzzle there, or piece of the puzzle. You know, and I also think just the amount of talent that's around him. You have a defense, you have an offense. You know, the offensive line will need to be a little bit retooled, but I trust them, you know, drafting wise. And I just think when you have all those weapons, you have all those reasons to come here. It's a big market. New York is huge, and you know, furthermore, you're not going to, you know, a team with, like I said, like tons of Super Bowls. This is your chance to etch yourself in history and really be known as the guy that won 2 Super Bowls in 2 different locations. And the day he pretty much walked into the Jets facility, everything changed. That was it. And so I think for him, you know, I mean, I remember 2 years ago when he was on the Packers and he was frustrated because, you know, there's all this talk about them trading for Brandon Cooks and signing Odell, and they got nobody. And then they once again lost in the playoffs. They lost early, in fact. And then this year, they didn't even make it. So, you know, to me, I just feel like Aaron Rodgers had just been fed up. That's where I stand on that. I think he lost a lot of friends from that team. Clay Matthews left. A.J. Hawk retired. Guys like that. And then I don't think he feels, or I don't know him personally, but I feel like the vibe I get is that he never truly had like this great team. There were guys like, you know, you had Randall Cobb, who he trusts, like I've brought up. You have guys like David Bakhtiari, who, like, you know, they're buddy. But aside from that, I just don't feel like it was a team where he's like, yeah, we can definitely win a Super Bowl. Like, we might be able to win one if I carry us there. But I feel like he comes to the Jets, and now for the first time in his career, at least since he won the Super Bowl, you know, I think that's an argument that you could make. But for the first time in his career, or since he won the Super Bowl, He'd be coming here in a way that he's a part of something and he doesn't have to be the entire something. And I think that's a big thing when you walk in and now all of a sudden you have all of these key components already in place. You're not sitting there getting frustrated. And let's be honest here, we've watched Aaron Rodgers on TV. How frustrated did that guy look the last couple of years?
Yeah, I also wonder. Go ahead, Benny.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta go. I gotta run in like a few minutes. But the last thing I want to say is, Jake, you hit that on the money. I think a change of scenery can't be understated. We've seen it with Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a New England Patriot. Even though they had so much success in the last year or two, you've seen more frustration out of Tom Brady. It wasn't. He was getting fed up with almost Bill Belichick and everything. Like, things weren't running smoothly. And when he got an opportunity to go to Tampa, you saw a rejuvenated Tom Brady. He played at an MVP level in that Super Bowl run, and people think he should have won MVP over Aaron Rodgers a few years back. And obviously, Tampa was in a very similar situation. They had all the talent in the world. They had a defense. They had good wide receivers, and they just needed the quarterback to take them over the top. And I see a lot of similarities with this Jets team. They had a little bit more veterans on on Tampa. We have more younger guys, but I think regardless, the Jets are a team that's ready to win now. And I think that new change of scenery with all those young guys would be ideal for Aaron Rodgers to really bring the fun of football back into his life. And I think he walks in and sees that. I think you get 2 and probably 3 years out of him, sort of how Tampa got out of Tom Brady.
All right. Well, thanks, Benny, for your time. We'll let you go. Jake, can you still hang out for a little bit, or you got to go too?
No, I'm around. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
All right. Benny, any last words before I let you go?
No, that's it. But I definitely appreciate you guys having me on. I always enjoy this. As always, anytime I'm available and you guys are doing something, I'll be on. But definitely thank you guys. It means
Thanks,
a lot.
man.
Later, Benny.
You know what it reminds me of a little, Jake? Remember, I know it's a little while ago, but remember when Peyton Manning left the Colts? Everybody forgets that. Like, that's what I'm hoping for, that similar scenario. He left because the Broncos had an amazing defense. They had the wide receiving core in place, Demaryius Thomas. We have the Garrett Wilsons. We have that top-tier defense that could even get better. People forget Bryce Huff is young. Jermaine Johnson's young. I mean, Sauce Gardner, everybody's like, oh, he's already the best, arguably the top corner in the game already.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's a rookie. He's only going to get better. And if the Jets don't have to give up a first-round pick, which I don't think they will, even though all these mock drafts, I've been going over all the mock drafts today. Oh, the Packers drafting edge rusher at 13, whatever. I don't think they're going to have to give that up. I think they might have to give up 1 draft pick. I love the Clark trade from the Ravens.
Yeah, it was a
Brings
good trade.
veteran.
Adam Schefter had
know.
my heart skip a beat when he tweeted,
There's been a trade.
There's been a trade. I was like,
Well, so funny thing about that, because so for whatever reason, when like sometimes a web page loads like half of the page.
Yeah.
I saw it traded with the Ravens, and I was like, did they get Lamar Jackson? Like, I had that, so I was like,
Garrett
what?
Ham would be going crazy.
I mean, I'll say this right now. Love Lamar, but I think even though Rodgers is older, I think Rodgers makes more sense. Lamar Jackson, best ability is availability. He's had a hard time staying healthy. He is a lot younger, so you could argue there, but you're gonna have to give up 2 first-round picks. Whereas Rodgers keeps you, like, you still have that ammo. Like, you can still trade. You can still trade those picks and get players. You can get a Jalen Ramsey. You know what I mean? You can get guys like that. Whether Chase Young, like, who knows? What if he's available? They declined his 5th-year option. I mean, if the Jets wanted to, they could really play around with this stuff.
I mean, let's be real.
I can't believe that.
With Lamar, you're talking about a guy who hasn't been healthy for the last 2 years, and he wants Patrick Mahomes type money where he's only won 1 playoff game his entire career. That's the reality of the situation, and he doesn't have an agent. So that's also throws a wrench into everything.
Sucks. It sucks because he's a hell of a talent, and honestly, like if the Jets could get him, and you knew he was going to stay healthy, if you were given like the gift from God, like God himself came down, was like Lamar Jackson will give you 10 years of health, then I feel pretty comfortable, right? I think he would be a no-brainer over Rodgers because you'd have him for 10 years and he'd be healthy. But the biggest issue is availability, and Rodgers has stayed consistent in playing in games. And keep in mind, he was playing on just not a great Packers team. I mean, that team really had to battle back to even have a shot at the playoffs at the end of the year.
That goes also into his hand injury. How much did Rodgers' hand injury contribute to his production last year? I think it was probably pretty significant.
Yeah. Well, and I also, he'll never admit it, but I really think it just got to the point where it became too much. Like, enough is enough. Like, if you've ever been at like a certain job and you've been there for way too long and you're starting to feel the effects of it, it's like that. And it's like, it gets to the point where you're not even acting yourself. I went through this, thing in my life a few years back, and I know what it feels like. It's like, wow, I'm not even acting myself. I'm like a completely different person, because if you're not happy, if you're not in a good state of mind, if your mental health isn't in order, and you have to take retreats into these pitch dark rooms and stuff. I mean, maybe that last, place that you were at probably wasn't the best for you. So, yeah. I mean, obviously he's always going to love Green Bay because that's, that was his team. That was his franchise. He is, going to be remembered as a Green Bay Packer no matter what he does with the Jets, because he's been there for so long. But he can be remembered as a Jet too. And this is an opportunity where he could actually win. I'm not saying he's going to, but he could win more Super Bowls with the Jets than he did with the Packers. It just takes two.
Well, and
don't play with me.
Do you think that the Ravens gave Lamar that non-exclusive because they're like, listen, no one else is going to give you that money? Like, I mean, the money you're seeking, that fully guaranteed money, no one's going to give it to you. And if they do, we're just going to match it. So we're not. I think he's going to go around the league, and I honestly don't think anybody's going to even mess with him.
Well, the issue also is, again, he doesn't have an agent. He doesn't have an agent, right? So there's a level there that makes it. Yeah, but like there is a certain ecosystem within there where you have your contacts. You can quickly go out and talk to people, and you have a rapport with somebody, and you can work things out. And that level there is just not there.
He just doesn't want to give up the commission check? Is that what it is?
Oh, please. It's what? Everybody gives up that commission check.
I mean, really
there's no way an NFL owner or team is going to sign off on a fully guaranteed contract, not in the NFL.
Well,
it's too violent of a sport.
Well, Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins, and I think the league is trying to stop it from happening. I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I mean,
totally
it does.
agree.
Well, it hasn't worked out for either of them, has it yet?
The thing that I find funny though is that we can shame Lamar Jackson for going after the guaranteed contract, but we've already seen Kirk Cousins get one. We've already seen Deshaun Watson get one. Deshaun Watson's a really, really poor example, like a good example, but a really poor thing there, because it's like, I mean, he had a rap sheet like this big, and they still gave him that money. And so, I think Lamar's looking at it like, I'm an MVP. Like I didn't do anything like that off the field. And I know I'm better than Kirk Cousins, so why can I not get that? And I think
look where the Browns are every year, and look what I've done for this organization.
Exactly, and I beat the Browns every year, right? So
handily.
But the Ravens are gonna be like, that's the Browns' issue. That's not Baltimore.
Yeah, but I do get his bargaining chip there, and what I will say is for teams like Washington coming out and saying we're not interested in Lamar Jackson. He ain't interested in you either. I mean, let's be honest here. Like,
right? Why
who
would
wants
he
to play
ever
for
go
Dan
there?
Snyder? You know what I mean? Really, who wants to play under him?
Mm.
Like the Falcons said no, but I have a sneaky suspicion that the Falcons could ramp up efforts if this thing carries on. Like, I think teams just don't want to. They're not going to dive right into the pool of Lamar Jackson right now because they want to see how free agency plays out. But if they're like, oh wow, this is like everyone's in like this whole solidarity, like we're not gonna offer him a contract, there's going to be a team that's like, yeah, but this NFC is so easy to win. If I get Lamar Jackson, I'm winning this, right? So if I'm the 49ers, like I'd hate it, as a Rams fan. But if I'm the 49ers, quarterback woes be damned. Like, I have Brock Purdy as my backup. I have Trey Lance to trade, as a bargaining chip somewhere. I mean, I would go after Lamar Jackson, like with reckless abandon. I really would, because they are the team where you're like, man, that's that one team. If they had a quarterback and they had a young quarterback like that, with that athleticism, like in Kyle Shanahan's offense with, McCaffrey and Kittle and all, I mean, that would be a nightmare. I think it's funny, right? Because we have the dynamic of the NFC being really lame, really like, going through almost, there's I would say a little bit of a power vacuum because Rodgers is leaving, right? Rodgers, we're going to assume, is leaving the NFC. Tom Brady retired. I think teams are looking at the Rams, like, not sure what to make of them. Matthew Stafford, what's the deal with his injuries? Jalen Hurts is really good, but Jalen Hurts is going to get paid soon. And because Jalen Hurts has to get paid, a lot of these guys are out the door. We're going to see Darius Slay getting traded from the Eagles. So, when Derek Carr is all of a sudden like the 5th best quarterback in that conference, that's not a great conference. And so on one hand, you have the NFC that's like, they're going for it. But then on the other, you have the AFC, and you're like, if you're the Jets, you're like, man, we got to go. We can't get a Derek Carr. Like, I think the Jets probably bailed out of Derek Carr because they're like, we need to find a way to compete with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is starting to emerge, right? And then you talk about the rookie quarterbacks that are coming in. I mean, who knows how many of the top guys will go there, but, you could be looking at C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young all being in the AFC. It's certainly possible. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it's certainly a possibility because the Panthers might actually trade down again. I
have a lot of friends in North Carolina that are Packers fans. Panther fans, and they are just beside themselves. They don't understand. So
they're trying to pull some like
they're trying to now drop down again.
What's that movie that Draft Day? Yeah, they trade the first pick.
If you pull it off, you get a higher pick. So like you move up in the draft where you originally were. And you get your picks back and then some. So, like, there's a way to
Didn't they also just say they were trying to re-sign Sam? That was like a week ago.
Well, yeah. maybe they're gonna maybe they're actually gonna do it right. Something the Jets can never do. Actually draft a quarterback and let them learn for 6 months before letting their heads get taken off.
Well,
when I'm thinking, Sam Darnold, good luck.
Yeah, what I'm thinking here is that they just took advantage of the Bears. Like, the Bears were dying for DJ Moore. That's why they made this move. They were like, we want DJ Moore. And so now they're like, okay, like, we'll do that. But now the Panthers are like, did you trade this a little too early before all of a sudden, like, the demand and everything started ramping up? Because think about this. Are the Panthers geniuses low-key? They now don't have to pay. Think about this. They now don't have to pay DJ Moore. Right? Because DJ Moore was going to ask for a big contract. We know that. And they didn't have any interest in giving him that. So that's what they're telling us.
That's been known for a while, too.
Yeah. So
we heard the rumors last year.
Basically, the Bears, they have $100 million in cap space. I'm not like crapping on them for wanting to pay more, but I feel like they traded this pick too early. I mean, there's a reason why historically teams don't typically trade away their number 1 overall pick until closer to the draft, maybe even on draft night. And the reason for that is the same reason why this team ran out of time at the trade deadline. You had all this year to trade for this guy. Why did they run out of time? I'll tell you why. It's because it starts crunching, right? The time crunches, and all of a sudden the demand starts pushing out. And now you have these teams that are like, maybe fear of missing out or whatever, and they're like, man, I don't know, I kind of want this Anthony Richardson guy. I might have to move up to number 1. And I think the Panthers might actually be geniuses. They paid a price because they're going to trade out of this, and they're just waiting for a team to get so desperate when it gets closer. Because keep in mind, the draft process is not over. We're in March, folks. We're not in April. When we get to April, we'll start to have boards completely filled. Teams are going to know who their guys are. And so now the Panthers are sitting there and they're like, you know what? We don't care out of these three. We'll pick any one of these three. Okay, we're going to sign Jacoby Brissett, whatever, right? We're just going to have a quarterback that starts, and whoever we pick is going to sit. And if you're the Panthers there, you are the geniuses, because you want to tell me that a team like, say, Seattle, if they fall in love with Anthony Richardson and they know they have to get by so-and-so, like Houston or somebody, you want to tell me that they're not going to start throwing picks at, the Panthers? I mean, if the Panthers turn 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore into 3 firsts and like a bunch of seconds and thirds and whatnot, they absolutely stole the draft. And
if
I think
that's true, then the
doing.
Bears are the worst run organization in
Pat,
the NFL.
Look what San Francisco
absurd.
just
They
gave
did this
up.
with Trubisky. They did this exact thing with Trubisky. They basically got baited, right? Because it's the same
Into a
thing
horrible
in a sense.
quarterback selection, by the way.
And it wasn't even that it was Trubisky. It was that the 49ers were never going to pick him, and they're like, oh, crap, we got to trade. So they traded with the 49ers. The 49ers gave him a third-round pick. Or they gave the
Thomas
49ers a
pick,
third-round
right?
pick.
Yep.
Yeah,
and one spot.
The 49ers were never going to pick him. So, it's like they coerced them into trading with them. And it's like right now, I look at the Bears, and it's like the Bears really like DJ Moore. They kept calling about him, right? And the Panthers are like, wait a minute. The Bears, who have the number 1 overall pick, really want DJ Moore. All right, let's work up a deal. And so they got him. They fleeced him, in my opinion. If they pull this off, they fleeced them, because now you have the number 1 overall pick that you can hang on until, the next, you have more than a month with that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe they fall in love with one of those quarterbacks and say, you know what? Our quarterback is here.
Yeah.
There's still that chance.
If they like all three and they can't make up their mind, say, well, the owner likes this guy, the head coach likes this guy, and the GM likes the other guy, and you're split. Now all of a sudden, hey, Houston, you want to trade up to 1 because I'm going to take this guy, right? Or Houston, you want to trade up to 1 because I got to deal with Seattle. Oh, Seattle, do you want to trade up to 1 because Houston has to deal with that? See, this is where, like, they control the draft at the top. They control the most important and imperative position in all of football. And that's why it's good. Like the Jets, they get this thing hashed out with Rodgers, and it's just good because now it's like you don't have to deal with any of that nonsense. You don't have to deal with going out and getting your quarterback. You got him, and he may not be around for 10 years like you'd like, but you're going to have him for 2 to 4, and you'll make do with that, right? You'll just, he is very, very good, and he has a lot of experience, and he's going to elevate this team. And that's what you need. And at the end of the day, you don't even need Rodgers. I think Carr would have been good enough because of all the pieces you have around. Right. Rodgers gives you a chance to really take over the AFC, in my opinion. I think Derek Carr puts you in contention. I think Derek Carr keeps you on a consistent path. But Rodgers, if he gets back to that MVP level, which was literally 2 years ago, that's not that long. If he gets back to that MVP level, the Jets could run this conference. They really could.
Well, we're seeing all, I see Dolphins Twitter freaking out today, which I love. I love nothing more than those flipping fans freaking out. There's nothing more I love when I go on Twitter and they're all screaming at their own organization, picking up Tua's 5th-year option. Nothing makes me happier. I sleep like that. Anyways, if we get Aaron Rodgers, the teams the way they are right now, we know the Bills are going to lose some significant pieces this offseason. And I'm not crying about it, but they're going to lose.
Ever going to do anything, though? Think about it.
Right. Well,
how are they going to get over the hump? Because now they have to start paying those players that they drafted and had on rookie deals.
That leads up to my question for both of you guys. Number 1, where do we stand in this division? Are we the second best team behind the Bills? And number 2, where does it put us in the conference? Are we a legit top 4 team, I'll say, in the conference? Or does it remain to be seen? Because our defense if we get Rodgers and we want to start filling in all these pieces, Corey Davis is gone. I would. It's so weird because Pat, we spoke about it briefly. I would almost consider trying to restructure Lawson and pushing some of that money towards next year and not cutting him this year, because I feel like if you're able to add a big fatty in the middle on defense with Quinnen, and you got most of your guys coming back, I bring Vinny Curry back for one more year. He was pretty good situationally. I give the kids a little more run, the Jermaine Johnsons, the Huffs of the world. And then you get a couple linebackers in here. You already got the veteran safety that we've been dying for.
Mm-hmm.
You're set at corner right now. Maybe you get a pass rusher in the market who's looking to get a ring. You have that top 5 defense. We almost beat the Bills last year with the worst quarterback situation in football. We hung in there. So where does that put us in the conference? So answer those 2 questions for me. First division and then the conference overall.
The conference, we're definitely at least top 4, I would think. And I think we win the division. I'm not a Josh Allen believer. Never have been. So that's just me.
Now the non-biased guy.
Yeah. The non-bias.
Oh, the eye roll. Here comes the pain. Lay it on us, Jake.
All right. So if they get Rodgers, I think that they are in the same tier as Kansas City, Cincinnati. I think they're better than Buffalo.
See, he agrees. He agrees.
I think they definitely.
He agrees.
I think they definitely win the division. If they get Rodgers, they definitely win the division, and I kind of feel like they win the AFC because hear me out when I say this. Okay, I understand everyone's flocking towards Kansas City, but the thing about Kansas City is they might not be able to bring back their star tackle. Okay, and I don't think. That is one of the most underreported things, I think, so far leading up into free agency is the fact that they aren't going to franchise tag him. Okay. Orlando Brown is going to be a free agent. Are they going to be able to sign him? Because they're going to have to start paying these guys. I mean, they have these guys on rookie deals, but how much longer do you have Nick Bolton agreeing? Yeah, I don't need to get paid. I'm only, averaging a turnover per game. It seems like, you know what I mean? Eventually you're going to have to pay these guys. You're already paying Chris Jones a lot of money. You're paying Travis Kelce a lot of money. I heard, okay, they want to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. You're going to have to pay him money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are definitely guys that you can move because they have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, one of the worst deals in the league, $11 million. I still can't believe they're paying him that. But you have guys here like those cornerbacks. L'Jarius Sneed isn't going to be on a rookie deal forever. Okay, you're eventually going to have to pay him. You're eventually going to have to pay, what's his face, the guy from Washington. I mean, eventually you're going to have to pay Creed Humphrey. You're going to have to pay Trace. So this is not going to last forever, and the Chiefs need to be very diligent in how they approach this. And what we have, seen is we've seen 3 teams win Super Bowls playing in a 17-game schedule. We saw the Bucks, we saw the Rams, and we saw the Chiefs. Okay, the Bucks came back the next year and they lost in the divisional round. The Rams came back the next year and went 5-12. What will Kansas City do? And to me, those 2 teams are in the NFC, which I would argue still weren't as good as the AFC is right now. Kansas City is going to be in a little bit of a tizzy here because I think the Chargers are going to be a lot better this year. I think they'll be back. We'll see what they do, what the Raiders do. I'm not necessarily counting them in, counting them out. And I don't really know what to make of the Broncos. So you look at that and you take the Chargers, right? I think Miami's an interesting team. I do. But I don't think Miami's better than the Jets as it stands right now. And I definitely don't think they're better than the Jets if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers. So what does this come down to? I think it really comes down to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is the team to beat in the AFC. I know everyone's going to be talking about the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs could have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. And they've had this before. We've already seen this. So I think Cincinnati, who, by the way, is 3-1 with Joe Burrow at quarterback, versus Mahomes, I think Cincinnati is the team to beat, and I think the Jets can beat Cincinnati. I think that they're a team that has everything you need to beat Cincinnati. I think they have a defense that can pressure Burrow, and I think they have a run game. And look, let's talk about it, right? You know, Brees Hall was arguably the best running back before he got hurt.
He was
Like-
already going to be Rookie of the Year
Yep.
offensively. It
Yep.
was
Yeah.
without a doubt. I mean, it
So-
wasn't even close.
It's like think about this. We're all sitting here marveling over the idea of, oh my God, imagine what this team's going to look like with Aaron Rodgers. But like, what's this team going to look like when they have a consistent 100-yard rusher a game in Brees Hall with Aaron Rodgers? You know, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to throw it 50 times a game if Brees Hall is taking, 20 carries for 120 yards. You know what I mean? So I think you can dictate the clock. You have a defense that can force turnovers and can be effective in short yardage. So on those third downs and fourth downs, and I trust a stouter defense. That's one of the things about the Jets. And so you think about it, and you're like, there's everything there. They can win ugly games. They can win shootouts. They can win, games that start off as a shootout and end ugly. They can win defensive battles. I mean, they can win any type of game, and I think that's the beauty about it. If they get Aaron Rodgers, and obviously they can add on to that, but if they get Aaron Rodgers, that puts him in the conversation right away as a team that can win the AFC Championship and go to the Super Bowl and be a favorite. Like, I think, to me, the three favorites should be the Jets, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Bengals. Now, I'd probably put the Bengals at 1 for now. I'd put Kansas City at 2 and the Jets at 3. But I think it is definitely fair to say that the big 3, the Jets, would be in there. And I think the Bills had their chance, because how much better is that Bills team going to get?
But they're going to get worse.
You're
going to lose all pro players.
They've missed the boat. Now they have to pay Tremaine Edmonds. I don't think they're going to pay him. I think he's going to go somewhere. And, congrats on your 3rd round compensatory pick for a guy that you drafted. He's the youngest player in the NFL, and you're getting this guy with 5 years of experience at age 24. You know what I mean? Like, congrats on your compensatory pick there. That's going to be a huge loss, And so I look at that and I'm like, and then we're constantly talking. I mean, people are saying, oh, Bijan Robinson there, and they go out and they get Adam Thielen. I don't really care. I mean, the Bills have proven they can't get to the next step. They can't get to the Super Bowl.
You also have some locker room stuffing. We're hearing Diggs might want the hell out of there. I mean,
I know.
Well,
What's
yeah,
up
they
with
were
that?
they're arguing on the sideline. So, real quick, we've talked about best case scenario. What about worst case scenario? We don't get him.
Well, I'll tell you
what's the pivot?
What I've been told from people in the know, I'll just leave it at people in the know.
Your sources?
And I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago, and it was confirmed on the Beningo podcast about a week ago.
Oh, don't say it.
I know for a
Don't
fact,
say it.
From some of the people in the organization, a lot of the Jets coaches do like Ryan Tannehill. They like the consistency he brings, consistently over 60% completion percentage. I don't like it, because here's the thing. Tannehill, is he an okay quarterback? Yeah, he's okay. He's like a poor man's Chad Pennington to me at this point in his career. But we're at the point where we are looking to win a Super Bowl. When all this stuff came out with Derek Carr, we at JetCast were told they're not going to pursue Carr because they have other opportunities. That's exactly what we were told. Other opportunities. And clearly it was Aaron Rodgers, which, was no secret to anybody. But this push came from the owner. Woody Johnson squashed the hell out of that Derek Carr whole conversation. You notice when they went out to lunch, we were all like, "Oh, look, who's that? Oh, it's his former
Woody wasn't there.
Coach. It's Hackett. It's whatever. It's all the coaches are there. The one person that was missing, who loves the back pages more than anybody, and we all know that's Woody Johnson. And that's because Woody was saying, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, we're going to keep Derek Carr in our back pocket over here. And Derek Carr finally said, I'm not going to be a second option, and went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
But this was a complete Woody Johnson. And who knows? Listen, we could all say all we want. Oh, there's no tampering. BS. There's tampering in every sport. There's a reason why in the NBA free agency starts at midnight and everybody's signed by 12:01.
Yeah.
Because let's just
they're
call
holding
it.
them captive, like
Yeah,
the case
Rex
with
Ryan
DeAndre
tried.
Jordan.
Rex Ryan tried to sell us. Oh yeah, I didn't talk to Bart Scott. He just signed at 12:01.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When legal tampering started. Remember all that?
Yeah.
But you got to think that Woody's been in Rodgers' ear, or somebody within the Jets has been in Rodgers' ear, players or whatnot. But if they swing and miss, I totally expect them to pivot to Tannehill. They have zero faith in Zach Wilson. It's not even Zach Wilson and his abilities, because I think we could all agree he showed some flashes. Yes, is he immature? It's all there. The immaturity. Maybe he turns into Geno Smith, where 5 or 6 years down the line he's able to be successful. It was the fact that he lost the locker room and refused to take accountability for how crappy he was playing. And then you got his mom coming out with the comment, oh, nobody could live in New York. What a toxic fan base, whatever, yada, yada. This is the NFL. This is not, BYU, where you have 25 people showing up for a home game. It's completely different. And now I think they realize, think about this. Imagine you're Zach Wilson right now, and you see Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, everybody but Elijah Moore, who we also know you don't like, is coming out begging for every single quarterback other than you to be under center. Hell, Mike White. Remember when Mike White came in? They're all wearing the shirts. We got effing Mike White. Remember all that stuff?
Do you guys think it's a bad look with Sauce the other night on his Twitch channel and the YouTube?
Of course it is.
Of
course it is.
We're just gonna look stupid if he doesn't come, right?
I mean,
Jake, what do you think of the whole Tannehill thing?
Okay, yeah. Start with Tannehill.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now, Lamar Jackson will be a Jet if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers. No doubt about it.
Hey, we got two firsts for Jamal Adams. We turned those 2 firsts into Lamar Jackson. I'll take it.
I mean, I'll just say this right now, and like I said, Aaron Rodgers should be the eyes on the prize, right? I mean, I don't even know what is there to think about. Like, as far as we know, we don't even know if he has a market outside of the Jets. I mean, it takes a specific type of team that is ready to contend, has the pieces, has the GM that is willing to go out and make the move. Because this is a ballsy move. Like, if this does not work out, this could get you fired. I'm not saying it will, but it could. And Woody Johnson, that's all you need to know. Like, I remember, the last JetCast I was on, I was like, Woody Johnson's getting loud again. And when he gets loud, that's when things start to move and things change. And that's how you know Zach Wilson won't start for this team in 2023. So one way or another, they're getting a front page superstar quarterback. They are not going to sit there and look at, New York Post or whatever and see Daniel Jones on the cover. It is going to be a Jets quarterback that is running the show, that is taking over New York, that's taking over New Jersey, that's taking over MetLife, and it's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or it's going to be Lamar Jackson. It is not going to be Ryan Tannehill. It's not going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not going to be Baker Mayfield. It's not going to be Jacoby Brissett. To me, Woody Johnson has put his stamp on this so hard that he has basically gone all in to the point where he will tell Joe Douglas, I'm not going to fire you if this doesn't work. I will take full responsibility. You just get it done. You throw whatever picks you have to get Lamar if we miss out on Aaron Rodgers. It's that simple. I really believe that. I think that's their pivot. I don't think they're going to. They have, and like you said, you were saying, it's not a great look. I think they're telling Sauce, look, go and do this. You have free reign to go and recruit him.
Yeah, make it look like the Jets are an attractive destination.
Yeah, because if this doesn't...
It's been a while.
If this doesn't work out, we're going after Lamar anyway. I mean, just think about it. We're not just getting the fans' hopes up. We're letting you know we're different. This is a change of the guard. This is a new era. Okay, we're not putting up with any more BS football. We're not having makeshift starting quarterbacks. We're not having placeholders. We're not having rookies that get thrown in the fire and can't contribute. We are going out to get a guy to win the Lombardi. That is our only goal, okay? And that is what I believe they're going to do. It's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson, and I think it's going to be. I mean, I'm not going to say 100%, but I'm about 95% sure it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, and 5% sure it's going to be Lamar.
Does Lamar Jackson's lack of postseason success, would that scare either one of you? I feel like
No.
those offenses get figured out in the postseason.
Well,
Maybe it's just me.
Look at the Ravens, though. I mean, who is he throwing to? If he goes to the Jets, he's got Garrett Wilson, right? You know, he's got potentially OBJ coming over because I think OBJ would love to play with Lamar or Aaron Rodgers at that point. You know, potentially Adam Thielen, you know, guys like that. They have Joe Douglas isn't just going to be like, we did it. We got Aaron Rodgers. We're done. Like, Joe Douglas is going to go on the hunt. They were not in the playoffs last year. There's way more, in my opinion anyway, not making the playoffs. It's different. They made the playoffs. Maybe they don't go as crazy. But when they miss the playoffs after starting 6-3, giving the fan base a lot of hope that, okay, this is our year. We're at least going to get to the playoffs. We could flirt around. We could beat anybody. You know, one game, all it takes. And when you get to that point, that's when like Woody Johnson's like, this is unacceptable. We didn't even make the playoffs. Okay. And then all of a sudden the pressure's mounting, right? And everything Joe Douglas did, you know, it all comes down to this, right? Because you have built a great foundation. And now because of that, you have leeway, so to speak, to go and make those big deals because we're not just trying to get Aaron Rodgers and call it a day. We want to make sure we get Aaron Rodgers and take advantage of the fact we have Aaron Rodgers. There are going to be players that want to play with Aaron Rodgers, whether they agree with his views outside of football or not, because I've heard that. But regardless, outside of football or not, there are a lot of players that want to play with great talent, and Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. So if you don't want to play with him, then you don't care about winning. And that I mean, that's about as simple as that is. So it won't just stop. The bus doesn't just stop with Rodgers. This is the beginning of a movement. Very similar. You mentioned it earlier with the Bucks. You know, you get Tom Brady, and they already had a great roster. But the thing that Tom Brady did was lure guys over. Rob Gronkowski, you know, they lured over, Leonard Fournette. They lured over
back in the
Julio
day,
Jones.
Josh Gordon and all those guys.
Yeah, Antonio Brown, right? I mean, you can say what you will about those guys working out and not working out, but they did bring those guys in, and Ndamukong Suh, right? These guys wanted to play with Tom Brady, and they're going to be guys that want to play with Aaron Rodgers because, I mean, let's be honest, he's only been on the Packers. That's a 1 in 32 chance of being on his team, and now he's going on another team, and now you have he's running out of time. So it's like, do you want to get a chance to play with a Hall of Fame quarterback, have a chance at a ring, or not? You know,
he's coming to a ready-made team too. It's not like he's got to sit through another rebuild.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so it's getting late, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Just one last thing from Minnesota Jet fans. He says the deal was done days ago. Just waiting to make cap room. I agree. I think the deal is probably already done, and they're either waiting to make the cap room or they're waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision.
The worst kept secret in the league.
Worst kept secret in football. Ray, last final thoughts.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet, and when that happens, we will figure out a way to go live. Jake, you're more than welcome to hop on whenever. You're a great guest, brother. Better friend, and go Jets, baby. Let's finally get this done. We've been waiting for the playoffs. Last time we were in the playoffs, I was in high school. I'm 30. Okay?
You're young.
So
it's
enough of this crap.
Jake, last thoughts.
Jake's sitting over there because his Rams won a Super Bowl recently. He's still on cloud 9.
No,
right.
I'm very upset with the direction they're going in, but we won't talk about that.
I wish I could be upset with the direction the Jets were going in after a Super Bowl.
I know.
You're living my life, Jake.
I'm just hoping that in some capacity, the guys that the Rams trade end up in New York. That's what I'm, because I mean,
Hey,
I have a connection
JFM worked
here
out
now.
pretty good for us, right?
Yeah. I definitely don't want to talk about that one. That one, that was painful.
Talk about a Ram, a former Ram, Robert Woods just signed.
Yeah.
We didn't really get into that. A guy that I was hoping that the Jets would latch on to. I believe we got 2 years, $10 million guaranteed, about $16 million a contract.
I wonder what
I thought
made
he
him
would have
sign
been
in
really nice.
Houston. They must have pitched like, "Hey, we're getting one of the rookie quarterbacks," and they're,
But even that, you're not
ready
going
to
to win
start.
anything.
I don't know.
Maybe they offer him the most guarantee. That's what I got to think.
I mean, I gotta tell you, the Texans are interesting because the thing about them is that they fought really hard in every game last year. They were in almost every game last year, and now they got D'Amico Ryans, who was like one of the hottest head coaching candidates, and now a head coach. And I feel there's something there. Like I think people are sleeping a little bit on John Mechie, who he missed the whole year because of leukemia. Like he's gonna be back. Like he's a second round talent at receiver. So you have him, you have Robert Woods, you got Dameon Pierce, and then you look at the quarterbacks and you're like, yeah, I mean, you go out and you get Bryce Young, or you go out and you get CJ Stroud. I mean, both those guys I think could start day one. I think Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling in the draft. Probably not a guy that you're gonna start day one. But I
That's
think
crazy.
that
He's all over the map.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I see him going anywhere from top 5 to like 14.
Oh, he's going in the top 3. I think
You think?
Kidding.
I think all 3 quarterbacks are going back to back.
Look,
Yeah.
I want them to go as high as possible, especially if the Jets.
Right,
have the
because then those
13th pick.
offensive tackles can fall down to us.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Jake, you think the Texans regret not taking Sauce?
I mean, I don't know why they passed him up, but I'm glad they did.
You remember that reaction? I know we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but I would never forget that reaction when the Jets saw the Texans draft. What's his name? Stingley. When that draft pick came down, you saw them jump up and hug each other. That's how you knew Sauce was their guy all along.
Yep.
Just a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you and nothing against Stingley, but I don't know how you watch Cincinnati tape and be like, yeah, this.
Well,
guy
they
is
liked
the
his tape as a
second-best
freshman,
corner.
I guess.
I mean, that's what everyone was saying, right? You know, his freshman tape was like study tape. It was like textbook, but then he wasn't as good, and
He didn't play.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, Sauce Gardner was by far the best cornerback last year. I think he was my number 3 overall prospect. So, I was very high on him. I was hoping they were going to come away with 2 defensive guys, or Jamison Williams, but I really like.
They just drafted the 2 back-to-back offensive rookies of the year. That's all.
Yeah. I would have
Yeah.
gone
If there's any more of a listen, when Aaron Rodgers looks at this team and he says he's the offensive rookie of the year and a defensive rookie of the year, how do you not say no?
and
It's
Breece
only the
Hall
third
probably would've
time in
been-
NFL history that's ever happened where it's on the same team.
Yeah.
It's
And clearly
unbelievable.
Team knows how to draft. I mean,
Except Jeremy Ruckert.
not a fan.
Oh please, just calm down.
I mean, I met him in person. He's a nice guy. He can't get on the field. I don't know why.
Oh, well, I mean,
because there's
it's-
two
it's a rookie
starting tight
end.
ends in front of him.
I know
Yeah,
he's a
no.
third round pick.
Play his tape and look at his blocking. He's a
Look,
beast.
Don't be surprised if he's included in a Rodgers deal.
Whatever.
I
Goodbye.
would not be surprised.
See ya. And
Yeah,
guess
I
what?
don't know
His
about
dad
that.
would probably sign off on it.
That's so
That's a
messed
good
up.
dude too.
Oh, his
That's a
dad's a
very
great
good
dude,
dude.
but his dad is a huge Jets fan. All right. We're going to wrap it up here, folks. So thanks for hanging out with us. If you're new here, please subscribe. I've been here
Give Jake
before.
a follow.
Yes, give Jake a follow on Twitter, on YouTube. And hopefully next week when we come back with our next episode, we are talking about Aaron Rodgers leading the Jets into 20.